Good morning, everyone. How are you? So I see some familiar faces from last year and a lot of new faces. Just for the benefit of all of you who were not here last year, I was up here talking about the why. Why Edison XFC? Why do we need an extreme fast charging solution? As Dave has rightly pointed out, that we all face the problem of charging, right? And in today's modern world, every minute count. We don't want to waste time sitting at a charging station, especially when you're on the road. We all Americans love to drive hundreds of miles. And if you have to spend like an hour or more just to recharge your EV, is a waste of time. And it makes the road trip, very unpleasant because of that. Very quickly, after talking about the why last year, today I'm going to talk to you about the how and the impact of the extreme fast charging, and not only the impact to our everyday lives, but the impact to the sustainability of the utility grid. Now, as we all know, EV actually has a huge battery size, ranging from as small as 60 kilowatt hours to as large as some EVs are 100 over kilowatt hours. And to charge an EV fully, you are drawing tremendous amount of electricity. And just for your context, an average American household consume roughly about 30 kilowatt hours. And to charge an EV that is averaging about 70 to 90 kilowatts, you are talking about 2 to 3 times of your daily consumption of an average American household. That's the quantity, right? Now, the next thing is the speed of charging, right? Because you are talking about pulling that huge amount of power in a short space of time, that puts a lot of pressure on the utility grid. Okay, so let's just look at the next slide. Now, we all agree the world today is facing an unprecedented demand for electricity. We talk a lot about AI. Everybody is talking about AI today. Everywhere I walk to in the conference, AI is the buzzword, right? AI is powered by data center. And then we have advancement in automation, robotic technology. We have increased usage of smartphones, streaming, social media, everything, live streaming, including the growing EV adoption. And all this is happening at the same time, and it will continue to increase. And you can see the estimated electricity demand in the next 10 years is going to be so huge. And not only is huge, it's really the impact of pulling so much power in such a short space of time. And that will kill our utility grid, our central grid system. Can we all imagine the impact to the US central grid, or for that matter, the utility system of various countries all over the world? Today, we only have less than 5% of EVs, 5% of vehicles on the road in US is EV. And we are already having that problem. Can you imagine if the adoption rate goes to 30%? Or for that matter, if we enter an era of full electrification, that impact is going to be huge, and we need a massive, massive upgrade to our utility system, which is definitely not sustainable. Okay, so the problem in power distribution for high-speed charging, we all know, currently, all the charging stations out there, especially the so-called DC fast charging stations, they are all pulling power from the central grid. Okay, and the problem with central grid is that through the distribution transformer, there's actually a capacity constraint, number one, the specs of the distribution transformer. Number two, in a location where it's supported by a nearby substation, there's also the constraint of electricity allocation, and especially during peak hours where everybody is using drawing power at the same time. And the challenge in power distribution is that there's a black box factor in there, and I will not go into the physics, I will not go into the technical, but we all know you are not getting electricity in a consistent manner, right? Sometimes you get allocated more, sometimes less, and that causes a problem because it's very difficult for us to time our charging habit or our charging pattern, especially when you're on a road trip, right? The best we could do is to charge our EV overnight in your own garage. But the problem is that, hey, look, do we all know that in US, we have more than 100 million people do not have the luxury of your own private garage. Many of them are living in apartments, condominiums, or whatever. So, it's nice to say that we can all charge our EV at home overnight when you sleep. That's the dream, but the reality is just not practical, especially for, metropolitan cities or other countries where, the density is so huge. It's just impossible for that to happen. And the next thing we need to talk about is this concept of alternating current versus direct current. So the distribution power system is delivering power in AC, alternating current. However, EV batteries is built on DC. And again, anything that's on battery is DC. Just like your computer, your laptop is also run on DC power. That's why when you carry your laptop, there's always a small little rectangular black box that is the AC-DC converter. Okay, so this is also a problem. When you look at the EV charging, there are 3 levels of EV charging: level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is the one that you plug into your ordinary plug, 110 volt, and that will take like 3 days maybe to fully charge your EV. Okay, that's ridiculous. It's almost unimaginable. Now, the most common would be the home charger where you have to upgrade your electrical circuit panel to be able to draw 240 volt, up to 40 amps or 80 amps. That would be able to charge your EV overnight in 7 hours, 6 hours, depending on the specs of your charger. But those are all drawing AC, and this is what happened. When you draw the AC and charge the EV, these are called AC charger, and the AC to DC conversion happens in the EV itself. There is a built-in battery management system to convert from AC to DC. Now, then you have the so-called DC fast charger, which is what we call the level 3 charger. That is for the public charging, where for example, Tesla supercharging station is the DC fast charger. Okay, Electrify America, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it. It's another large network, EVgo charge point, So if you go to some of these public charging stations out there that says DC fast charger with 150 kilowatt, 350 kilowatt, these are all DC fast charger. And what happened is these chargers, they all pull power from the central grid, which is coming in AC, but the conversion from AC to DC happens at the power cabinet, which is the charge controller. And then it delivers DC directly to the EV. And that's the reason why it's able to charge at a faster rate. Okay, so FYI, for those overnight charging at your home, we're talking about average 11.5 kilowatt. The fast charger out in the market in US today is either 150, some 240, and go up to as high as 350. So you can imagine, the charging speed is a lot faster and the power is a lot higher. Now, there's still a problem. I'll talk a little bit of this peak hour charging later, and I'll skip that. Now, the problem right now is that even if you have DC fast charger out there, whether it's rated 150 kilowatt, 240 kilowatt, or 350 kilowatt, the real issue is because they are all connected to the utility grid and drawing power from the utility grid, there is a constraint of the utility grid, the infrastructure. So you have the EV that's capable of drawing a lot of power, depending on what model you drive, right? In the some of these very advanced EV today, like Porsche, Audi, even the Hyundai, they are using 800-volt battery architecture. And if I'm not wrong, Lucid is up to 900-volt battery architecture. They can draw a lot of power in a short space of time, versus Tesla is still on a 400-volt battery architecture. Okay. Now, no matter how the EV battery advances, and today we're hearing news coming out from Asia where CATL, BYD, they have technology that can charge like in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They're all great. That means that the EV is capable of accepting this kind of power. And the power cabinet or the charge dispenser is capable of delivering the same kind of charging power or speed. But the infrastructure is not supporting that. And I have to say that the entire industry is missing out the most critical part, because you can have the best advanced EV battery in the EV itself, you have the most powerful charge dispenser, but if your source of power, which is a utility grid, is not giving you the required power in a short space of time, it's pointless. It's really pointless, okay? And this is what we do at Edison XFC. I don't focus on upgrading the EV battery. I don't focus on upgrading the charge dispenser or power cabinet. I focus on redesigning a system that we can draw power from renewable sources such as solar, potentially even mini wind turbine, or any other form of renewable energy that we would like to call it a microgrid solution where we can completely detach from the utility. That will be the dream. But as of today, we cannot be completely detached from the grid because, again, I said earlier on, we are drawing so much power that even with the solar, with the wind power, is not sufficient to generate that much electricity within that compound or within that surface area, right? So we still have to have our system connected to the grid, but the good thing is that we're connected to the grid, but we are recharging our battery system on-site, which is a huge energy storage system on-site. We recharge by pulling power from the grid overnight when everybody else is sleeping, and the grid is not facing any kind of pressure, no congestion, and you are recharging the battery in a slow and steady manner. And that is the key, because this is sustainable. All right, and most importantly, it is at the lowest and cheapest cost of electricity when you pull power from the grid overnight. And from that perspective, it is also a sustainable business model, because if you are only relying on the central grid and pull power from the central grid as and when the EV pulls up, there's a huge demand charge, and you have a high utility rate. We call it time of use electrical rate, which can be very high, especially in California's context. It goes up to as high as 50 cents per kilowatt hours. And if it goes up to that kind of cost, it's not sustainable for the charge point operators, because either they make a loss or they pass on the cost to the consumer, which is also not sustainable, right? So the sustainability that I'm talking about is not just a sustainability to our grid system, but the sustainability of the business model and the sustainability of the entire industry, because if we can keep the cost low, and that's where it benefits the consumer, and then we encourage the consumers to adopt EV at a much faster pace, much faster rate. And we also solve one very important issue, and this is our game-changing solution, that is because of the fact that we are drawing power, everything, and we store the power in a battery energy storage system, similar to your underground gas tank in today's gasoline station. And I'm able to deliver power in a very, very high speed to the charge controller and to the EV, all in DC, instantly. And therefore, we are not subjected to the constraint of the utility grid, and I'm able to deliver super fast charging speed to the EV and to the charge controller that is already designed and capable of drawing so much power. And earlier on, I mentioned the problem is not the EV, the problem is not the charge dispenser, it's the infrastructure. And now I am eliminating the roadblock of that infrastructure. So how it works, very simple. We have a solar array or wind power, and then we store the energy in the BESS, which is the battery energy storage system, so that we can guarantee consistent power allocation. And everything, the entire DC coupled solution, is powered by an intelligent management, energy management system that we self-developed for cost optimization. So we ensure that at any point in time, we will deliver power using the cheapest energy that we can source. Okay, and you know, right now we have a 360 kilowatt charge dispenser, and this is all modular, meaning in the future, if we have more advanced EV coming up, I can upgrade this to 480 without any problem. I can even upgrade this to 600 kilowatt without any problem. And here is just an example to show you a grid-connected 350 kilowatt DC fast charging station. Today, if you drive to Electrify America today, I hate to mention my competitor's name, but it's not competitor. I see them as a industry partner, right? Now, what I'm just showing here is the difference. So if you look at the orange line, it basically, right here, this orange line, this is the charging curve of a 2025 Porsche Taycan with an 89 kilowatt hours battery size there. And the charging curve shows you that, the charging curve shows you that when you start charging the EV from 0%, immediately you are drawing power and the power demand spikes up to over 300 kilowatt of power that they are drawing. And it maintains well at about averaging 320, 330 from 0% to about 60% state of charge of your battery. And then after 60%, it drops a little, and then it hovers at about 200, up to about 80% before it drops down significantly. So this is the key issue. This Porsche Taycan is capable of drawing so much power, but the current system, the current setup, whether it's in US, in other parts of the world that relies on the central grid, they all can pull power on average. If you're lucky, you're talking about averaging 150 kilowatts, right? Some of your EV drivers here, you have the experience. You go to a Tesla supercharging station, or you go to Electrify America EV Go. On average, you're actually drawing about 80, 90, 100. It's not even 150. So what it means is that, you know, if you were to charge the Porsche Taycan using the current system, you are always being limited by what you are drawing from the utility grid. So as a result of that, it takes you almost 29 minutes just to charge to up to 80%. However, with the Edison's charging system, our limit is up to 360. And therefore, I would have no limitation or any issues with charging a Porsche Taycan. And as a result of that, I can charge this Porsche Taycan up to 80% full in 13.5 minutes. We are talking about a reduction of over 50%. Okay, I think I'm running out of time, but that's the gist of it. This is just a competitive landscape to show you how I stack up with the rest of my industry partners, not competitors. So, you know, our aim is to build charging stations everywhere in the United States along the freeway so that we all drivers who love to go on a road trip can drive with peace of mind at ease without having to get into a situation where you have to wait for 1-2 hours to charge, or you have nowhere to charge. So this is what we are aiming for, and you know, this is a summary. I will leave it to you guys to read through the slides if you have the chance. And like what Dave said, we are building our first pilot station, which will be completed very soon in the next 2.5 months, and it will be operational, hopefully from August onwards. And finally, I wanted to just say something. We do not reinvent the wheel, okay? I don't reinvent battery technology. I don't reinvent the charge cabinet, power control, everything. I basically use whatever is available out in the market and redesign the whole system in such a way that we can remove the bottleneck and deliver that extreme fast charging solution. So this is my favorite quote in my entire life from Shiv Khera: winners don't do different things. We do things differently.
Yeah, that's a great one. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. All right, thanks. Yeah, all right, thanks. Let's go ahead.